Good evening, all. I hope you are able to see the screen and my voice is audible. Can you please confirm me that?
Yeah, sir. You are audible.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. Welcome you all to the demo session on batch 8 of GitHub Actions and Kubernetes. So thank you for taking your time and going to spend time here for the next 1.5 hours. So the agenda of this particular demo session will be focused on discussion related to the core syllabus that I am going to discuss as part of this batch. And once the syllabus and the other details are discussed, we'll be having a Q&A. So whatever questions that you may have related to the code's content or related to the projects, whatever that is related to this particular codes, everything will be answered in the last half an hour or 40 minutes of time. So the agenda of this session is a discussion on syllabus. That's the core element of this one. And then question and answers. If you have any questions, all those questions will be answered appropriately. So this is batch 8. So far, I have completed 7 batches very recently. The last week only, I have completed batch 7. But from batch 1 to batch 7, I have focused on the 4 important pillars of a DevOps, which is Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, and Terraform. These were the 4 major tools that were covered in the last 7 batches, particularly the last 6 batches. In the first batch, I have just focused on Jenkins, Docker, and Kubernetes, but over a period of time, I have been focusing on Terraform also, considering the importance of this particular tool as well. The reason why I have started GitHub Actions and Kubernetes as a separate batch is since Jenkins is being popular, or Jenkins is also a popular CI/CD tool. Alongside Jenkins, there are some competitive tools which are running in the market and which has started gaining prominence in the market. One such tool which started gaining prominence in the market is GitHub Actions to perform CI and CD activities, that is continuous integration and continuous deployment activities. So that's the reason why I'm focusing only on GitHub Actions and Kubernetes in this batch. The primary reason is in the market, there are very few trinets, or there are very few people where you can actually learn GitHub Actions or where they are actually teaching GitHub Actions. And even if they are teaching it at a batch level, let's say the complete AWS plus DevOps kind of batches which are running out there, the GitHub Actions hardly will be focused. Probably 3 days or 4 days will be focused, not more than that. And obviously, in that 3 days or 4 days, maximum content cannot be covered due to various reasons. So for that reason, what I thought is like, let me go at a full scale level with GitHub Actions, where I can particularly focus on GitHub Actions, let's say for the 1 week to 15, 16 days of time, like 14 to 16 days or 14 to 17 days of time. Kindly please keep yourself in the mute. I don't know, someone is unmuted. So the next 14 to, please keep yourself in. Who is that? Kindly keep your, because it disturbs others also. So thanks for understanding. Right. So the primary reason for starting only GitHub Actions is the solid focus can be given on GitHub Actions, and followed by GitHub Actions, it is important to know how we can do the deployment. Once we know how to perform CI and CD activity using GitHub Actions, we should deploy it. So end of the day, all the applications will be deployed on the Kubernetes cluster only. It can be EKS cluster, it can be Google Cloud, or it can be Azure Cloud also, AKS or GKE as well. But end of the day, it needs to be deployed on a cluster. So for that reason, Kubernetes is also integrated as part of this batch along with GitHub Actions. That's the primary reason why I have focused on GitHub Actions and Kubernetes as part of this batch, where we are going to solidly focus for 35 to 40 days, we are going to focus on GitHub Actions and Kubernetes. So this entire course has been divided into different modules. So in module one, I'll be focusing on Kubernetes. In module 2, I'll be focusing on GitHub Actions. And in module 3, the focus will be shifted towards how we can integrate GitHub Actions with Kubernetes to perform the application deployments in the cluster. So that is GitHub Actions with Kubernetes. So module 1 will have a separate set of syllabus. Module 2 will have a separate set of syllabus. And so is module 3. So coming to the syllabus of each module, So firstly, module 1 will be focused on Kubernetes part, where we are going to talk about a brief introduction to container orchestration. What is meant by container orchestration? Why do we need container orchestration? Why Docker Swarm is not preferred when we are working with container orchestrations? Why is it only with Kubernetes clusters? So this fundamental idea about management of containers will be focused as an introduction to container orchestration. Once that is done, we are going to focus on a brief overview on introduction to Kubernetes. Why only Kubernetes? To ensure the container orchestration, that is management of containers. And then we'll be focusing on the Kubernetes architecture. So generally we have in Kubernetes, we have something called worker nodes and master node or control plane and worker nodes. So we'll be understanding what are the different components that are available in the Kubernetes architecture. What components are there in the control plane? What components will be there in the worker nodes? What is the role of each and every component? How does each component is going to help us when we are working with the Kubernetes cluster deployments? All of these will be focused in the Kubernetes architecture point, that is cluster level architecture point. And then we are going to talk about how we are going to create the clusters. Okay, creation of clusters. So we'll see what are the different methods of creating the clusters. And we will create the clusters with different categories. Let's say here we have different types of Kubernetes clusters, like the self-managed Kubernetes cluster and managed Kubernetes cluster. Self-managed, something like Minikube, Kubedium, Kind, Rancher. These are all self-managed Kubernetes cluster. Managed Kubernetes cluster, or which is also called as a cloud-managed Kubernetes cluster, especially the EKS in AWS, GKE in Google Cloud, AKS in Azure Cloud. These things will be focused, the types of clusters. And all our Kubernetes concepts will be focused on EKS. So we have a cloud called AWS. In AWS, we have a service called EKS service. All the deployments or whatever learning that we do in the Kubernetes module, each and every part of the learning will be focused on EKS, that is Elastic Kubernetes Service. If you know how to work with any one Kubernetes service or Kubernetes cluster, that is cloud managed cluster, only thing is you need to create other clusters. Like in Google Cloud, you need to create Google Cloud cluster. In Azure Cloud, you need to create Azure Cloud cluster. Working phenomena or working style will remain same. Only thing that varies is creation of the cluster and its underlying resources. But as far as this course is concerned, we'll be focusing completely on the EKS cluster. And then we'll be focusing on what are the Kubernetes workloads. We'll understand what are the different types of workloads that we have. How do we create these workloads? In order to create the workloads, what are the different things that we need? So fundamentally, we'll be understanding AML formatting. AML formatting also we'll understand. So how to write the AML scripts, because in Kubernetes, it is all about writing the AML files, writing the syntaxes properly, writing the versions properly, multiple categories will come. So we'll be understanding the formatting of AML and its core structure, the core elements in the AML templates. And then we'll talk about how to create the resources, like imperative way and declarative way of creating the resources. Imperative is by using commands. Declarative is by using AML files. So we'll see both of the things when we are talking about each and every resource creation type. We'll see it in imperative way as well as the declarative way. But 90% of the focus will be focused on writing the AML files instead of creating the resources using commands. That is a declarative way of creating the resources will be focused in 90% of the sessions. Wherever the situation comes or wherever the time comes, I'll also be giving you the commands related to imperative way of working with the cluster. Imperative way of working with the cluster. Yeah. That's related to Kubernetes workloads. And then to understand the basics of Kubernetes, we are going to work with pods. Pod is basically the smallest deployable unit in the Kubernetes, which is the least thing that you can do in Kubernetes. So we'll talk about pods, the types of pods, like single container pod, multi-container pod, init containers. Like this, we have different types of pods we have. We are going to talk about what are the different types of pods that we have, and creation of different types of pods. Creation of different types of pods. Along with that, we are also going to understand how pods will communicate. So that is pod to pod communication concept also we are going to focus. Pod to pod communication. Again, in pod to pod communication, we have two categories. One is if two pods are there on the same node, how will they communicate? If two pods are there on the different node, how will they communicate? That also we are going to focus with the communication aspect. In the process of working with pod communication, we are also going to understand the pod networking aspect as well. How the IP addresses will be allotted to the pods, who will be allocating, from where the IP addresses are going to come. These entire things we are going to focus in the pods concept. And then we'll talk about a concept called the services in Kubernetes. So Kubernetes services are something which are used to expose your applications. So we'll understand a brief overview on introduction to Kubernetes services. And then we'll talk about what are the different types of Kubernetes services we have. That is cluster IP, node port, load balancer, headless service, external name. Like this, we have different types of services. So we are going to focus on all of these types of services, both theoretically as well as practically. That's something related to services we are going to focus. And then we are going to talk about how pods will identify the services. Or how a service will identify the pods. The communication between the pods and a Kubernetes service, how it can be established. That also we are going to understand. That is pods with the service communication aspect. And in the process of looking with this one, we are also going to talk about a concept called namespaces. What is a namespace? How do we create a namespace? What actually we can achieve with the namespace concept? So this focus will be done on namespaces, how to create the resources in a particular namespace, how to switch from one namespace to another namespace. At a large scale, we'll be focusing on namespaces concept. Once namespaces is done, then we are going to focus on the concept of Kubernetes controllers. So what is meant by a controller? What is meant by a controller? That's what we'll see under overview of Kubernetes controllers. What are the different types of controllers we have? That is replication controller, replica set, stateful set, daemon set, stateful set, daemon set, deployments. Like this, we have different types of controllers. So we are going to focus on each one of these things practically. Replica set, replication controller, deployments. Again, in deployments, we have deployment strategies. So we have majorly 4 types of deployment strategies. So we'll understand what is meant by a deployment strategy. What are the different types of deployment strategies that we have? Like blue-green deployment, rolling update, recreate. Like this, we have different types of deployment strategies. Rolling updates, recreate, blue-green deployment, canary deployment. Like this, we have different types of deployments. So we are going to focus on different deployment strategies as well. And once we work with the deployments, then we are going to focus on how to do the deployments in a namespace, in a particular namespace. So namespace level deployments also we are going to focus. Let's say I want to create the resources in a particular namespace. So how do we do that? That's what namespace level deployments. That also we are going to focus. And once this is done, we are going to talk about the scheduling aspect of pods. That is pod scheduling. So how do we schedule the pods onto a specific worker node? That is overview we are going to focus. Why do we need to focus on pod scheduling? Why do we need pods on a specific worker node? When do we need such kind of things? All of those things will be covered at a pod scheduling. That is particularly, we are going to work with the node selector, node affinity, node anti-affinity, and then we'll be talking about pod anti-affinity, PAA. I'll just call it as pod anti-affinity. So these are the different pod scheduling strategies that we are going to focus. And then we'll be talking about one of the most important concepts in Kubernetes, which is resource quotas. So we'll talk about what is a resource quota, how to set a resource quotas and limit ranges for a namespace or for a particular deployment. How do we ensure working with that one? That's what resource quotas and limit ranges concept we are going to focus. And the next concept will be focused on management of secrets in Kubernetes. For this, we are going to focus on what is meant by a config map, what is meant by a secret. How do we create secrets? How do we call secrets? How do we create a config map? How do we call a config map? When you call a secret, how the application will function? That entire focus will be done in the management of secrets concept. And then we'll be focusing on the auto-scaling concept in Kubernetes. Again, in auto-scaling, we have 3 types of auto-scaling. One is a horizontal pod autoscaler, HPA, vertical pod autoscaler, VPA, and a cluster autoscaler, CA. So we'll talk about how do we autoscale the pods when particular amount of load or too much of traffic is coming to the application, how the pods can be autoscaled both in a horizontal way as well as in the vertical way. And in the process of pod scaling, we'll also be talking about how nodes also can be scaled. The worker nodes, how the nodes can also be scaled. That's all again something which is very important. And in the process of working with the cluster autoscaler, we are going to focus on EKS auto mode also, which is the very new feature which was launched. EKS auto mode, that's also something which we are going to focus. So once the autoscaling concept is done, the next concept will be focused on volumes in Kubernetes. What is meant by a volume? Why do we need volumes in the Kubernetes? How do we set up volumes, particularly by using a PV, that is persistent volume, and persistent volume claim. Persistent volume claim. So we'll talk about these two concepts. And here we are going to focus on how to provision volumes in a static way. That is static provisioning of volumes and the dynamic provisioning of volumes. Dynamic provisioning of volumes. In the process of working with dynamic provisioning of volumes, we are also going to understand what is meant by a storage class, how to create a storage class, how storage class will be helpful in the process of dynamic provisioning of volumes. And when we are doing dynamic provisioning of volumes, we are going to focus on both how to attach an EBS volume and how to attach an EFS also, elastic block storage and elastic file system. Both we are going to use. And in that process, we are going to talk about EBS CSI driver and EFS CSI driver. These drivers also we need in the process of dynamic provisioning. So that concept also will be touched with respect to CSI part, that is CSI drivers part. Once we talk about the fundamentals of volumes, then we are going to deep dive into volumes by understanding the concept of a stateful set. So generally, in any applications that we talk, we have a stateful application and stateless applications. Mostly for the front end and back end, we'll go with the stateless applications. But when it comes to databases, we need to go with the stateful applications. So how do we create a stateful applications or stateful set related pods? And how do we ensure the persistence of the data? Persistence of the data. That means how the data can be stored even after the pod is deleted. Even after the application deployment is deleted, can we secure our data? How do we secure that using a PVPVC? And how do we secure that using a stateful set? Stateful set. In this process, we are going to practically deploy an application, a real-time application, a near real-time application, where users will enter some data in the application, and all that data will get stored into the stateful set pods, basically the database pods. And we are going to access the data as well. That projects I'll let you know anyway. That's something related to stateful set. So once the stateful set is completed, then we are going to talk about a concept called RBAC in Kubernetes, role-based access control. Role-based access control. How do we set up, create roles? How do we bind the roles? What is the point in creating the roles? Point in binding the roles? How do we effectively work with the RBAC concept? That focus will be done in the RBAC discussion. Followed by, we'll be focused on job scheduling. So basically, we have something called cron jobs in Kubernetes. So job scheduling also will be focused, particularly focused on cron jobs. Cron jobs. So that also we are going to focus how to schedule the jobs or how to schedule the application deployments at a specific time period. That's basically the cron jobs are. That also we are going to focus. Followed by, we are going to talk about the probes in Kubernetes. So we have different types of probes like liveness probe and readiness probe. So we are going to focus on what are the different types of probes, how to create a liveness probe, how to create a readiness probe. When do we need these kind of probes? For what kind of situations we'll go with liveness probe? Under what kind of situations we'll go with readiness probe? That will be touched here. That will be touched here. And then we are going to talk about the package manager in Kubernetes, which is called as a Helm. So we are going to work with the default Helm packages. Along with that, we are also going to focus on custom Helm chart creation. How to create a custom Helm chart for your application, and then how to store that custom Helm chart in the GitHub repository. How do we take that Helm chart and how do we deploy that application using customized Helm charts? So we are going to work with the default Helm charts, and custom Helm charts as well. For our own application, we are going to create a custom Helm chart as well. That's something which will focus on Helm concept, which is a package manager in Kubernetes. Helm is a package manager in Kubernetes. And once this is done, then we are going to focus on a concept of taints and tolerations. Taints and tolerations. This is actually a part of scheduling in Kubernetes, like where we are talking about the node selector, node affinity, node anti-affinity, pod anti-affinity. This is a part of that pod scheduling only, but it will be discussed separately because that has a different importance in real time. And these things has a different importance in real time. And we'll talk about which is good, which is not so good, or which is popular, which is not so popular. For what reasons it's not popular. So that taints and tolerations will also be discussed. How to taint a node, how to untaint a node, how to schedule the pods onto a tainted node. What happens if you schedule the pod onto a tainted node? What happens if the existing pods are there on a tainted node? How will they get terminated? All of those things will be focused in the taints and tolerations concept. Taints and toleration concept. And once this is done, then we are also going to focus on the Kubernetes network policies as well. Kubernetes network policies. So what are the different types of network policies we have? How do we create a network policy? In the process of creating the network policies, how can we ensure the traffic is not just like that going into the pods? How to secure your pod-to-pod communication? Those things will be focused under the network policies concept. Networking aspect of Kubernetes, basically. That's something which will be taught. And then we'll be talking about ingress controller. Ingress controller. So how to work with the ingress controller? What are the different types of ingress controllers we have? That is Nginx ingress controller, ingress Nginx controller. Like this, we have different types of ingress controller. And the advanced version of ingress controller, which is a gateway API, will also be focused. And how to migrate the application from ingress controller to gateway API. That migration also we are going to see. Nowadays, most of the applications previously, most of the applications were deployed using ingress controllers only, which is basically the path-based routing. But since I believe you have followed the latest news related to the deprecation of Nginx ingress controller, ingress Nginx controller. So it is a requirement that we need to migrate the ingress controller, that is Nginx ingress controller or ingress Nginx controller, to gateway API. So that migration aspect also we are going to focus. How to migrate the applications from ingress Nginx controller to gateway API. Please kindly can you mute yourself? I'm not sure. Thank you. Right. So that's something which we are going to focus in the ingress controllers concept. In the ingress controllers concept. Followed by gateway API will be done. In this process of working with gateway API or ingress controllers, we are going to work with domain mapping as well. We'll create a custom domain. For that custom domain, we are going to do the domain mapping. And we are also going to work with subdomain mapping as well. Let's say when you have multiple microservices, we need to have subdomains. So how to do the subdomain mapping? Subdomain mapping. That's something which will also be focused here. Followed by, we'll be focused on the concept of monitoring as well, which is the most important element again. So in the monitoring aspect of Kubernetes, we are going to work with Prometheus, Grafana, and EFK stack. EFK stack. That's also something which will be focused. That's related to monitoring aspect. And then the GitOps approach will also be focused. How to do the application deployments in the Kubernetes cluster using GitOps approach. So particularly, we are going to work with Argo CD as a. Kindly mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Don't unmute. That disturbs the session, and the things also will be discussed. Yeah. Right. So the GitOps approach of application deployments that will also be focused. Followed by Istio will also be covered. A service mesh tool. So that's basically a part of monitoring only. So let's keep under monitoring itself. Service mesh tool, which is Istio, will also be covered. Istio will also be covered. So on a large scale, these are the entire topics that we are going to focus in Kubernetes. On a large scale, I have talked, but once we jump into the concepts or once we jump into the real sessions or real training part, we are going to see much deeper elements in all these things. And if I have missed anything, I'll be covering that during the sessions as well. I have mentioned whatever maximum that I remember at the moment. But if I missed out anything, that will be covered in the live sessions. If you have any questions with that, you can also ask at the end of the session as well. So once we complete Kubernetes, are in the process of working with Kubernetes, at least 5 medium scale projects we are going to deploy. 5 medium scale projects we are going to deploy. One with PVPBC, one with stateful set, a couple of them with ingress controller, one with Argo CD, 1 or 2 with Argo CD and gateway API also. So 5 to 6 medium scale projects we are going to get. So that's something which is related to Kubernetes module. Kubernetes module. And the next module, which is module 2, that is GitHub Actions. Module 2 is GitHub Actions. Once we are good with the primary understanding of Kubernetes, creation of the resources in the Kubernetes, now we need to do the automation of application deployment. So for that, we are going to use GitHub Actions as an automation tool, the application automation deployment tool, that is CA and CD. But directly, we cannot do the application deployments using GitHub Actions. For that, we need to primarily understand what is GitHub Actions and how do we work with GitHub Actions. So primarily here, I'm going to focus on the CA/CD fundamentals. What are the different CA and the CD tools that we have in the market? Why do we need to focus on GitHub Actions? Is it that much important really? Or is it something that is really getting that much important in the market or in the real time? That will be understanding. And then we'll be understanding the architecture of GitHub Actions. Architecture. Yeah. Architecture of GitHub Actions. That also will be focused. Followed by here also, we are going to write the AML files. So we'll talk about the AML structure of for GitHub Actions. The AML structure for Kubernetes is different from AML structure of GitHub Actions. So we need to understand that AML structure. And then once we are clear with these basics, then we are going to work with a concept called workflows in Kubernetes, workflows in GitHub Actions. What is meant by a workflow? What are the different types of workflows that we have? How do we create a workflow? When you create a workflow with different use cases, how the workflows will get triggered. Workflows are, in simple terms, you can call it as pipelines. In Jenkins, you might have created pipelines. Same thing, we'll do it with GitHub Actions. That is called as workflows. Just for a better understanding, I'm correlating it with the pipelines in Jenkins. That's basically workflows. And in the process of working with the workflows concept, we are going to understand what is meant by an event. What is meant by an event? So events we'll understand. How do we trigger an event? So events will be triggered, how it can be done. What is meant by a job? And what are the different steps that can be there in a job? That also will be focused. And then we'll talk about something called runners in GitHub Actions. So we have self-hosted runners and we have hosted runners. In the GitHub itself, we can host our application deployment. That's basically the self-hosted runners. And we'll also be talking about hosted runners as well. Self-hosted and hosted. Hosted means cloud hosted, basically. Cloud hosted. And we'll also be talking about what is meant by an actions and what is meant by a marketplace. We have something called marketplace actions. So what is that marketplace actions? That also will be covered here. And once this is done, then we are going to work with the variables in GitHub Actions. What are the different types of variables that we have? How do we create variables? How will we configure variables in the GitHub Actions? And how to call those variables when you are triggering the workflows. And in that process, we are going to understand secrets as well. How do we configure a secret in the GitHub Actions? That is a secrets management, we call this. Secrets management we have. So environment variables and secrets management. And we will focus on what is meant by GitHub environments as well. What are the different types of GitHub environments that we have? How do we deploy the applications to different environments? Which environment has to be triggered at what level, like the dev environment, production environment, staging environment, testing environment. These lower level environments will be tested first, and then we'll be forwarding it to the live environment, which is a production environment. That also will be touched under GitHub environments. GitHub environments. Followed by, we'll be talking about a concept called dependencies of a job. That is basically job dependencies. So how do we depend a job? How one job can be triggered with the help of another job? In that process, what actually will happen? These things will be focused under job dependencies. Job dependencies. That's something which we are going to focus. So we'll talk about job dependencies. We'll talk about parallel jobs, sequential jobs, non-parallel jobs, parallel versus sequential jobs. These things will be focused at a large scale. And we'll also be focusing on something called matrix builds as well. Matrix builds. So conditional execution, like if-else conditions. What is meant by timeout and retry strategies? So timeout and retry strategies. Conditional execution. Let me write that. Conditional execution. Like this, we are going to focus on the job dependencies aspect. And then we'll be talking about something called artifacts and caching. Artifacts and caching. So how do we create an artifact for Java-based application? How do we upload an artifact? How do we download an artifact? What is meant by dependency caching? What is meant by Docker layer caching? What is build optimization? So all those aspects will be covered under artifacts and caching. Artifacts and caching. That's something which is again one of the most important thing in GitHub Actions. GitHub Actions. And then what we will do is we are going to understand some advanced concepts in GitHub Actions, which are again important and which are required to know as well. So we'll talk about CD deployments, that is basically CD pipelines we'll talk about, continuous deployment pipelines, where we will deploy the applications using SSH-based deployments, Docker deployments, Kubernetes deployments, Helm deployments. These things also will be focused on as part of this, we are going to work with blue-green deployment, canary deployment, rollback, rolling update. These deployment strategies also will be focused. And then we'll talk about something called reusable workflows. Reusable workflows. What is meant by a reusable workflow? How to create reusable workflows. In that process, we'll also be talking about composite workflows as well. Composite workflows. What is the difference between a reusable workflow and a composite workflow? We'll talk about something called mono-repo pipelines and multi-repo pipelines as well. Mono-repository pipelines and multi-repository pipelines. So that's also something we are going to see. And then, however, we are going to integrate for the notifications as well. Let's say if the workflow is successful, I need to have an email notifications. If the workflow is failed, I need to get an email notifications. Mostly I'll focus with the email notifications only, not with the Slack. But if time permits, I'll also focus on Slack notifications as well. But primarily, I'll be focusing on email notifications at a large scale. How to set up the email notification, that is failure-based notifications, success-based notifications. That's something which we are going to see. And the last aspect of GitHub Actions will be security-based. How can you secure the secrets, the variables that you are configuring in either in the workflows or in the GitHub repository itself? So we'll talk about permissions, privileges, how to rotate the secrets, how to prevent secret leakages, how will we approve the workflows, these workflow approvals we call it as, how to protect the environment. These security best practices will be covered as the last part of GitHub Actions. Again, this is at a overview level, but when we go into each one of these things, it will take many things. I mean, many intermediate things will spin up there. That's module 2. And final module, which is module 3, is something which is related to integration of GitHub Actions with Kubernetes. That is for automating the application deployments. So here we are going to automate the application deployments using GitHub Actions in Kubernetes cluster, especially the EKS cluster. So here we are going to do 2 capstone projects, which are end-to-end projects. So where we are going to deploy a small scale application and also a microservice-based application. Blue-green deployment, and 2-tier application or 1-tier application will be deployed. Maybe only the front-end part and front-end with back-end. I'll see that. But at the moment, these 2 applications will be deployed. One is microservice-based application and the other one is blue-green deployment. And if time permits, we'll go with 1-tier application deployments also, just at a fundamental level. So 2 to 3 capstone projects will be covered, but for sure 2 will be covered, particularly with the microservices application, because it's all about microservices in the real time only. So particularly we'll focus on microservices application, then we'll focus on blue-green deployment, and then 1-tier application, basically the front end of the application. So this is all about module 3 that we are going to cover. So module 1 will be focused on Kubernetes. Module 2 will be focused on GitHub Actions. Module 3 will be focused on GitHub Actions with Kubernetes. So mostly module 1, that is Kubernetes, will come for approximately 45 hours. Max to max, so 45, 46 hours will come. Because in the last batch, I have talked about 43 or 44 hours. So if I talk some additional concepts, for maybe 45 to 46 hours will come. So that is 45 hours, so which will come roughly around 25 to 27 or 28 days. Maybe 25 to 28 days you can keep, roughly around that period. 25 to 28 days you can say. Roughly around 1 month on a large scale. And then GitHub Actions, roughly it might come to 20 hours or 20 plus hours, which might spin up to, let's say, 10 to 15 days or 10 to 16 days. It might spin up. Let's keep that range to 13 to 16 days. There it might come. And then the last module, which is module 3. So roughly around 6 hours it will come, because 3 projects, each project 2 hours also if you keep, then 6 hours, maximum 6 to 7 hours it will come, not more than that. So that's related to how much time we are going to spend on each module. And the last part of this session is what is the fee structure and how to register. Fee structure and registration process. So as you might have already seen on the YouTube or in the promotional posters and all that part, the same fee structure will be there and the registration process will remain same. So the fee for this entire training program is 7,000 rupees. 7,000 rupees. So where you're going to spend for almost 40 to 45 days or 40 days of approximately, we are going to spend. And 40 days, when I say excluding holidays, only the sessions will be considered as a 40 days. So without any holidays, 40 days will be solidly focusing on GitHub Actions and batch 8 of the training. And the sessions will be there from Monday to Friday. And once we start deep diving into Kubernetes, sometimes we might also need Saturdays as well. Sometimes on Saturdays also. Sundays I don't touch mostly, but in between somewhere we need to go with the Saturday session also, but that will be informed much prior. Let's say one day before or 2 days before will be informed based on the situation or based upon the pace that we are working on. And the timings of the sessions will be like 5 to 6:30 p.m. 5 to 6:30 p.m., which is a standard one, which cannot be changed at any point in the later part of the sessions, which is a standard one that cannot be changed because of my time constraints and because of my other batches and my personal works. So the timings for all the batches, whatever that happened so far, the timing were very much similar only. There was no much change. So 5 to 6:30 will be the session timings. Every day, 1.5 hours will be there. That's something related to the session timings. So coming to the registration part. So how do we register for this training? So if you want to register for this training, you can pay the fee. You can pay the fee to this particular number 9700712459, which is my number only. So you can pay the fee to this number on either on Phone Pay or on Google Pay. If any international students are there, maybe you can ping me after the session. I'll send you the PayPal link. Using PayPal, you can pay the fee. And remember, the fee is only one installment only. There is no multiple installments. So one installment only is there. But if you want to pay, which I don't suggest, but if you want to pay in 2 installments, the fee will be 8,000 rupees. So the 2 installments, which I don't recommend also, but if you don't have any other option, maybe you can go with 2 installments. So these 2 installments will also be made something like this. Before the first session, that is tomorrow also we'll have a demo session. So the main sessions will start from 2nd of February. So on or before 2nd February, the first installment has to be made, which is of 4,000 rupees. From 2nd February, 15 days will be counted. So after 15 days or on or before 15 days from February 2nd, the remaining 4,000 rupees will be, it has to be paid. That's something related to this one. And coming to the notes and recorded videos, notes and recorded videos will be shared, and access is a lifetime access. You can access at any given point of time. So there is no restriction there. Each and every notes, each and every AML file that we are going to write in the live sessions, everything will be shared with you, and you can use them when you are practicing as well. That's something again which I have missed telling about these 2 things. So this is about registration part. So once you pay the fee, once you paid the fee, you have to share the screenshot of the payment, along with your email ID, WhatsApp number, and your name. The reason why email ID is required is to send the documents and to send the videos and all that part. For that, email ID is required. WhatsApp number, because you are going to be added in the dedicated WhatsApp group for your batch, and also the community as well. Like whatever batches that I have completed so far, all those batches will be there as a part of community. So in that community also it will be added. So for that reason, WhatsApp number is required, and obviously name for reference point. So these 3 things are required once you complete the payment. So that is all about from my end related to this demo session. So if you have any questions related to the syllabus, if you have any questions related to the any other things that we are going to cover, maybe you can keep your questions now. I'm ready to take your questions. Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, thank you, Kiran, on that.
Yeah.
Kiran, I have one doubt. How is the market for DevOps, and how is the hiring?
Hiring is there. I don't say the market is not there. Market is there, but it depends. Like in a year, the peak times will be there, non-peak times will be there, the heavy recruitment times will be there. So that depends on the ups and downs. That ups and downs will be there for sure during a year in the process of recruitment. But there are openings, there are good number of openings. But for freshers, there are very minimal openings. I would say very least openings will be there for freshers. If there is someone in the session who is a fresher, I would highly recommend that you may not get the job in the first attempt itself. You might have to go at a layer by level. Let's say you might have to start with internship roles, and then eventually you have to grow up. That's something which is for freshers. But as far as experienced candidate is concerned, at least 4 years of experience is more than sufficient to get a calls. But if you have 5 or beyond 5, for sure, the chances are there to get the calls. Whatever training that, whatever the content that I'm going to discuss, with this content, you can keep at least 4 years of experience. That's my guarantee that that's the level of knowledge which I share it in this batch.
Thanks, Kiran. And now, if you are aware, the current market is all with the AI film. No? I mean, AI integrated. Is there that something DevOps also is being integrated with AI? Are you going to even touch those topics also?
No, see, the thing with AI is all about how you can give the prompts in ChatGPT. That's basically the AI. So we cannot integrate AI with DevOps. It's not possible also logically. So how can you use AI to simplify your task? That's something called AI integration. In the process of writing the YML files, in the process of creating the code, in the process of working with GitHub Actions, obviously we will be using ChatGPT also. In that process, you'll understand how the prompts has to be given. If errors comes, how to be troubleshoot using AI. These things also will be discussed. That's a regular part of any batch, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
and you said
you.
Lifetime access.
Yeah.
This access will be to the DevOps tool.
No, the access will be to all these modules. Whatever that is going to cover in this batch, access will be given to all these things, including the notes and other things.
All these modules in sense like Kubernetes is also, we need a practical hands-on, right? And you said you will be touching on some of the projects also.
Yeah.
So, and maybe creation of clusters also, it is something we are learning on theoretical part. How do you going?
No, we are going to practically do the things. We are going to create the cluster and then only we are going to implement everything in the clusters.
That is in the DevOps tool, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Will you be showing that demo of the DevOps tool? How the tool looks? Like I'm little bit. Is this module 1, 2, and 3 covers the full course of the DevOps?
No, full course of DevOps is Jenkins. I mean, if I have to tell it in that way, okay, let me just suppose, let's say, if you are someone who is a beginner to DevOps or who just wants to learn, I mean, who just want to become a DevOps engineer, if you are in the starting phase of your thing, so you need to, I mean, for anyone, this will work as a roadmap. So first you need to learn the Linux. So the Linux fundamentals. That's something which you need to, let's keep it as DevOps engineer roadmap. I'll keep something like this. So first you need to learn the Linux fundamentals, followed by you need to learn a cloud. It can be AWS. My top preference will always go with the AWS cloud. And if you know multi-cloud, that would be much better. So I would give the second preference to Azure cloud. So first Linux fundamentals and then cloud. It can be AWS cloud and Azure. And once you are good with that, then you can go with Git and GitHub. Git and GitHub, Maven, Tomcat, and then Jenkins, a CI/CD tool. It can be Jenkins, GitHub Actions, GitLab, whatever it is, but Jenkins is the preferred one. And then Docker, Kubernetes, and then Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, Terraform, monitoring aspect. These things that you have to cover in order to become a DevOps engineer. I mean, in order to try for DevOps engineer roles. And if large scale, these are the things that you need to learn. But all these things will not be covered as part of this particular training. I'll be focusing Kubernetes, monitoring aspect, and the GitHub Actions aspect. Apart from that, no other tools will be touched.
Okay, how about if you want to get the full modules of the DevOps?
Maybe you can message me personally once after this session gets completed, because you may get, I mean, anybody who is interested to get the previous batch videos also, which was happened on Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, and Terraform. Maybe you can get those videos at an additional price. For those who are looking to learn Jenkins, Docker, and Terraform also, maybe you can ping me out once the session is done. However, Kubernetes will be covered in this batch itself. So no need to buy again Kubernetes. Just Jenkins, Docker, and Terraform. If anybody is interested, you can ping me there personally.
Good evening, Kiran.
Yeah, hi. Good evening.
In Kubernetes part, will you complete all topics or how it is?
Everything, whatever is mentioned here, everything will be covered at the basic level to advanced level.
So, like, can we use, can I expect what industry is looking for in real-time projects? You are going to explain like that, or it is a basic?
It is about first learning with each and every concept that is there in Kubernetes or that is there in any tool. And then we are going to implement with projects like for automation purpose.
Like a hands-on projects on
Yes,
real-time.
everything will be hands-on. Nothing will be theoretical. Nothing will be given to you. Okay, you do this. No, that won't be done. First, I'll be telling the things. I'll be implementing in the live sessions. Then only the tasks will come. So every session, like once in 2 or 3 sessions, you'll have a tasks also. The tasks also will be given. Those tasks are hands-on tasks, which you have to do it from your end. But those tasks, before I ask you to do those tasks, I'll be letting you know how to work with them practically in the live sessions itself.
Like officially when it is going to start?
From February, from 2nd February, that is from Monday. Today and tomorrow demo sessions will be there. So tomorrow will be focused on Docker, basic understanding of Docker, writing a Docker file, creating a Docker image, creating a Docker content. These fundamental things will be done. And then from 2nd February, that is from Monday, we'll be focusing on the real sessions, that is Kubernetes module will be started.
Okay. Thank you, Kiran.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Kiran.
Hi, thank you.
Good evening.
Yeah, please.
Okay, GitHub.
Sorry,
Right?
your voice is not audible. GitHub?
GitHub Actions means whatever we do with Jenkins, we can do it, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And what you cover about KITS, Kubernetes.
Yeah, okay. What you cover in the sense, I didn't get you.
It's like about course, what you teach in the Kubernetes sessions.
These are all the things, whatever that I have mentioned. So from here, these are all the things that I'm going to cover.
It's like
in Kubernetes.
40 days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And
Not
what is the timing? 5 o'clock to 6:30, right?
Yes.
It's better to have 6 to 7:30, I think.
No, I have other sessions at 8 o'clock, so that's why I cannot accommodate that time.
Okay, because of we are in a college, right? That's why we'll reach 5:30. We'll be joined class 6 to 7:30.
I can understand that, but I have other batch which is running at the moment, so which will get completed in the month of March. So till that time, I don't have any feasibility of arranging it in different slot. And I have even morning batch which is
the
running.
recording sessions also, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, for lifetime or once we've done the course,
you can check it on the screen. I have actually mentioned that some time back. For lifetime access will be given with both recorded videos and lecture notes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll ping you once again. You can respond after this session.
Sure.
But you said like for all the videos, I need it. That's why I want to talk.
Sure. No issues.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Kiran, I just wanted a last question. When will the next batch will be, because the current month I would not be possible. So when will be the next fresh batch will be starting?
So this batch will take March midweek or March mid-month it will take. So probably in the April first week, the next batch will be there.
And it will remain the same times, isn't it?
Yeah, timings may not change. Mostly the timings will remain fixed on.
Do you have anything at the early morning hours also, or only in the evening?
No, I have other batches running, but that is completely a different batch.
Okay.
Any other questions for anyone?
So Kiran Latif here.
Yeah, hi. Yes.
So I have actually 12 plus years of experience. So can this be helpful? I mean, am I audible, right?
Yeah, you are audible. Please go on.
Okay. So how can I mean explore this and I can add it to this my experience if you can elaborate on this.
Are you a DevOps engineer or like other software?
I'm into cloud support actually. I mean middleware support. Yeah.
Okay.
So earlier I was into development, Java development. I started my career as a development. I mean, yeah.
Okay. What exactly is your question now? Like, okay, you have 12 years of experience. So considering that, so what exactly is your question now?
I mean, how far, I mean, how far it is helpful to this, I mean, this course is helpful to me in going forward.
Yeah, obviously, like, see, let's say you know how to develop an application. Now, if you are good at
Yeah.
how to deploy the same application, that's an added advantage.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
in order to do the deployments, we need to do it in an automated way. In order to do the automation process, we need the automation tools. One automation tool which we have is Jenkins. Another automation tool which is recently becoming popular is GitHub Actions. And at the end of the day, all our applications will be deployed. Let's say, as a developer, if you develop any application, as a DevOps engineer, I need to deploy it in the Kubernetes cluster. So if you know both parts, the development part and the deployment part, that's basically an advantage to you, and it will add a weightage to your resume as well.
Okay. Yeah. So we are covering this only 2 topics in this session, right? Can we have the next, I mean, this Dockers and Terraforms Ansible session the coming months or so?
No, that will be started as a separate batch only, because next batch I didn't yet figured it out when to start and what to kept in the next batch. Because GitHub Actions was mostly asked by many students. So even on my YouTube and even my previous batch students and other people are there. So who were asking to particular dedicated sessions on GitHub Actions. So that's why this batch is dedicated for GitHub Actions on a large scale and Kubernetes along with that. But if you want if anybody is looking to get the Jenkins, Docker, and Terraform videos of the previous batch, which just completed 1 week before, maybe you can ping me out personally on the WhatsApp on the same number which you are seeing on the screen. I'll let you know the price, so you can get the recorded videos. Those recorded videos will also be lifetime access.
Okay. So there is no session, the live session on this, right?
Yeah, particularly on other things will not be covered, because if I touch those things, it will go for 3.5 months, which is again beyond what I'm currently promising the time.
Yeah, understood. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Kiran. Yeah.
Yeah, before I take any further questions, like this is the previous batch. Just a second. Let me just finish this one. This one thing. This is actually the previous batch Excel sheet where I'll be sharing. I mean, for your batch also, the same kind of Excel sheet will be there. So you can see, like on Jenkins, I have focused with 9 sessions, which is equivalent to 14 hours. Docker 11 sessions, 18 hours I have focused. Kubernetes 25 days I have focused, that is 25 sessions, which came up to 45 hours. Terraform 8 sessions were focused, which came up to 15 to 16 hours it came. So the total number of hours that were spent is 90 hours, and the total number of days that we have spent is 54 or 55 days. So the similar kind of Excel sheet, you can see it here. So you can see, the Jenkins and all that part. What is the Jenkins? Like, what are the projects that were covered? You can see everything. And then you can see the Docker part. In Docker, as I said, for every topic or for everything that we are going to cover, we are going to work with the assignments as well. So similarly for Kubernetes also, you can see them. So this is how the things will be covered. And then finally the Terraform part. That's the thing. Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, hi Kiran, Satya Chandra. Yeah, Satya.
Yeah, please go. Yeah,
so what about the certification? Say after completion of this one related to the Kubernetes, can we go for the certification with the course completion?
I don't say that this course will completely cover the certification aspect, because this course is mostly about the experience related to the real-time part. Certification part, yeah, obviously, whatever things that I have mentioned, whatever the large-scale topics that I have mentioned, everything will come under certification. But for Kubernetes certifications, more of theoretical understanding is also essential. Like, much of a theoretical part is required, because Kubernetes certification is a mix of theoretical understanding at a deeper level and also executing the YML files or writing the YML files. I would not say that 100% this course covers the certification aspect, but maybe you can weightage it to, let's say, 60 to 70% of certification topics will also be covered. But mostly this course is focused on the real-time aspect only, not related to any of the CKA or other related CKA certifications.
Yeah, okay. With this course, we can implement the things in the real world. If else we get into a project.
This focus is this training focus is completely that only, making it to more real-time aspect.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, Kastro, this is
Yeah.
Srihari. So, I mean, like, I know this, you topic is taking care of only these two concepts, right? GitHub Actions and Kubernetes. So once you complete this course, right, this small request, can you please take a new session on the Docker, other
It depends.
Terraform and things.
Yeah, as I said earlier,
So
like
that
it
means
depends. Yeah, I got your point. It depends on like when I'm going to start next batch and on what tools I'm going to start the next batch. So if you don't want to wait till that long, let's say like till April, like March mid, it will be this batch will be completed. And however, April first week, I need at least 10 days of gap to start a new batch. So if you can wait till that time, probably next batch I'll try to spin it up with GitHub Actions, Docker, something. Again, I'm not sure at the moment because it's too early to talk about that. But if you want to learn at a self-study level, then probably you can take the previous batch recorded sessions and you can learn it at your own pace. But related to next batch, I cannot tell at moment what will be done with the next batch.
Okay, but for sure you're taking, right? I mean, like at least after completing this batch with Dockers, or you have any
That's what, like
timeline?
at the moment, I cannot talk about, I mean, I cannot tell or I cannot decide at the moment what will be the content that will be there for next batch. At the moment, I cannot take the decision.
Okay.
Yeah, one
And
more
Kiran
thing,
said
Kiran.
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah, whatever the cluster creation we will do, right? Will it be a manual one or will we create using Terraform?
I'll also be showing how to create using Terraform and using commands as well, using YML files as well, using the console also, AWS console also.
Yeah. Okay.
And the same thing we can even practice practically, right?
Yeah. You can create your own cluster, but only thing is you should have an AWS account. If you have an AWS account, you can create your own cluster and you can work with that.
And I have one major doubt. Maybe not all days we would be available. So in that case, you said you will be providing recording.
Yeah.
And something we have any doubt, then we have to reach you directly. How is the help?
No, you can ask in the next session, or you can ping. I mean, there will be a dedicated WhatsApp group will be there, so you can ping in that WhatsApp group so that other group members will also respond. If they are not responding, at least I'll respond. So anything can be done in that way.
Okay.
Any other questions for anyone else? Okay. Right. So if you don't have it, please.
One more thing. This monitoring part is there now, Kiran.
Yeah.
So it will be discussed in depth, right?
Yeah, like the Prometheus and Grafana and how to set up the alerts using Grafana, how to access the dashboards, how to set up the dashboards. These things will be discussed. I mean, in depth as in, like, can you quote it how it is in depth? I mean, what do you exactly meant by in depth?
In depth means, see, whatever you are teaching, right? The same procedures and the same steps we can implement in real-time projects also, right?
Yeah, that way only it will be covered. Yes, that way only it will be covered.
Okay.
Yeah, service mesh will also be covered. As I said, we're going to work with Istio. Istio is a service mesh tool. Right. So that's for this session. In the next session, I mean, you can join the next session also using the same link, whatever that I have shared with you to the email and in the WhatsApp groups. Using the same link itself, you can join the tomorrow session as well. And once that is done, then from Monday, whoever is going to register for the training, for them, separate link will be there. That will be communicated further through WhatsApp group and personally as well. Yeah, this video will be uploaded to, just a second. This video will be uploaded to YouTube and it will be in the public mode only. So the video link will also be shared in the group and personally to your email IDs as well. So you can, if you get any questions or if you want to revisit the video, probably you can look into this one. Yeah.
Since I'm new to this Kubernetes concept, GitHub Actions, right? So whatever you teach us, that will be sufficient, right? Like you will be teaching from the, like from basics to, like
Yeah, it
within
will
your
be covered
research?
from fundamentals only. There is no doubt in that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Kiran, I have one last question.
Yeah,
So
go on,
tomorrow,
go on.
what topic you will be covering? Like you
Tomorrow
said,
we'll be
you-
talking about Docker, like how to write a Docker file, how to create a Docker image, how to create a container using the Docker image, how to push the images to Docker Hub. So a fundamental overview about Docker will be discussed.
it is a demo session. How you
Yeah,
will
it will
guide?
be demo session. Tomorrow's session is also free of cost.
Okay, Kiran, thank you on that. That helps
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, thank you. Okay then. Thank you all. If you don't have any questions, we can close the session. Thanks for joining. Thanks for taking your time. So tomorrow also you can join using the same. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Yeah, thank you, Kiran. Thank you.
Thank you.